Thank you so much, Debbie. It is such a pleasure to be here with you guys again today for part two. Can you believe it? Part two of our makeup series. If you missed part one, it is available, as Debbie said, through the library's YouTube channel. So feel free to take a look at that at your leisure and at your own pace. It's quite a bit of information, so feel free to pause, rewind, watch again and again and again. If you are with us live in the Zoom room, the link is in the chat. Kat just put it up for us. So feel free to pin that for a little refresh. I'm going to be talking primarily about the details, right? Frame and focus. So when I talk about frame and focus, we focus right here. When you're speaking to someone, when you're interacting and engaging with someone, this is that sort of triangle of focus. So today we are going to be breaking down eyebrows, finding the correct eyebrow for your shape, for your face shape, eyebrow shape for your face shape. How to fill them in, how to clean them up. I'm going to be talking a little bit about eyeshadow. So I like to sort of build the information. So there's going to be something here for the most minimalist of minimalist to the diva, the most diva of divas. And it's going to be just a quick and dirty overview on how to find the right how to do your eyeshadow based on your eye shape as well. So we're gonna really get in tune with our own structure, our own bone structure today, and how to maximize it and how to use makeup to enhance and detract. I come from a school of thought that believes that makeup is all about it should be about revealing and not concealing. I'm not trying to change you into a Kardashian or someone else. I'm just trying to help you amplify the most beautiful parts of you. Yes? Awesome.
Yeah.
So we're talking eyeshadow, we're talking eyeliner, lashes, how to curl them appropriately. So there's going to be a lot of technique. We're going to then go into blush, quickly going over blush, more so about how to choose the right colors versus, and we'll talk a little bit about placement, even though that's a little bit of a review from last week. And then I'll show you how to fill in, line your lips, and choose lip colors. Because those are some of those things that are like, I don't really know what to choose. So please feel free to drop your questions in the chat or to come off of mute and interrupt me and ask all the things. There are no silly questions. If you have a question about something, chances are someone who is either live with us today or watching the replay will have the exact same question. And I'm a bit of a scatterbrain sometimes, so I forget things. So feel free to just interrupt me, tell me to slow down, to repeat, to clarify, whatever it is that you need. As Debbie said, I am Melissa Collazo. I am a professional makeup artist. I have been a pro makeup artist. This is my 10th year in the industry, but I have been a lover and an enthusiast and a hobbyist since my youth, of the days when I was doing musical theater and performance and dance and show choir and all of those things. My mom was also quite a glam woman from the late 70s and 80s, so I picked up a lot from her just watching her do her own makeup. She's the first person that ever taught me how to contour before it was a big thing in pop culture. So I give her that credit as well. It's always just been a part of my life. But I understand that not everybody gets that sort of education from their homes. A lot of people, I hear more often than not, my mom didn't really know what she was doing, and she kind of taught me a little bit, and I don't really know. So that is so common. If that is you, if you are one of those people that feels that way, I am here for you. I'm here to break it all down. On top of being a makeup artist, I am also a mother. Mother of two little babies. My daughter is 7, my son is 5, and we have been doing quite a bit of homeschooling, as you can see here in the background. And I have also been not wearing much makeup these days because, you know, it is currently April of 2021 if you're watching the replay, and we've been in a pandemic for a year. So I have not been wearing much makeup. It's really been all about the skincare and taking care of the skin and all of that for me. But after a while, putting on a little mascara, putting on a little concealer makes you feel a little better about yourself sometimes. So I'm here to break all that down for you. We're going to do a quick and dirty review of what we did last week. Okay. So if you have your notes, please feel free to scribble along with me. Okay. So the fundamentals of complexion. I firmly believe, and if you talk to any professional makeup artist in the industry or makeup lover, you will know it's sort of common sense, right? Good skin equals good makeup, right? Good skin equals less makeup for a lot of people as well. Wearing a lot of makeup is a fad just like any other. If you enjoy wearing a lot of makeup, there is nothing wrong with that, you know? If you are more of a minimalist, there's nothing wrong with that either. It's more so about how to approach and how to maximize, right, with your choices and making appropriate choices based on what your desired outcome is, okay? But skincare is the fundamental for everyone. Even if you are a non-makeup wearer, everyone should have some type of a skincare routine that fits their skin type and any concerns that they may wish to address, okay? So every skincare routine should include a cleanser, for obvious reasons, to clean the face. Makeup removal and skin cleansing are two separate beasts, right? Remember the mopping of the floor analogy for those of you that were here that last week. You would not mop your floor without sweeping it first, right? Because otherwise you're just pushing dirt around. So that is what is called a double cleanse, when you're removing your makeup first and then cleansing the skin separately. You can do that in a variety of ways. You can use a makeup remover product. You can use a face wipe to wipe the makeup off first so that you can get down to the business of cleaning the skin. You can use a product I love that's called Make Off Spray, because I wear a lot of waterproof mascara and that sucker needs to be broken down. Otherwise, it's truly waterproof. No water is going to take that off. But again, it could be as simple as just washing your face twice. I mean, we're not going to go into all the in-depth. Please just feel free to watch the original video if you have more questions or want to hear more in depth about what a cleanser is and all of that. So then, once we've cleansed the face, we are now ready to treat it with whatever our concerns are next, right? Some people like toners. If you like a toner, use a toner. So toners are things like witch hazel and things of that nature, the more liquid type products, the skin refreshing type products. This is Mario Badescu's rose and aloe spray. Rose water is another beautiful one. So once you've cleansed and toned the skin, you are now ready to treat the skin for whatever your concerns are. That's where all of your anti-aging steps come in. Your eye care, things like eye creams, serums, boosters, face masks, exfoliation. That's where you're like really attacking whatever the skin needs next, right? Then finally, now that you have all that good stuff in your nice clean skin, we're gonna lock it in with an occlusive, also known as moisturizer. Moisturizer boosts the hydration of the skin. Everybody's skin needs hydration, whether or not you're oily or dry or anywhere in between. But it also seals everything off, right? So moisturizer, fantastic occlusive. And then I also like using facial oils as an occlusive as well. Everybody should be using some kind of a facial oil. At least that's where I stand. I love, 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 love a facial oil for my dry ladies, because again, that oil penetrates the skin and makes it rich and supple and replenishes something that we miss as we age, which is things like collagen, elastin, all of those things, right? But even if you're oily, you want to consider using a facial oil as well, because like attracts like, right? Oftentimes we are oily because our skin is actually very dry, okay? So what happens is your skin is dry, it sends a trigger up to your brain saying, ooh, I'm super dry, and then your skin begins to overproduce oil. So if you're introducing the oil in your skincare routine, you are tricking the brain into thinking, oh, I don't need to add any more oil, I'm good, right? And now you're introducing really good, rich, nutrient-dense oils to your skin. I will also say that with your skincare routine, remembering that your skincare is absorbed by your body down to the cellular level. Unlike makeup, which is meant to live on top of the skin, right? So, because it is absorbed by the body, we want to make sure that we're using very nutrient and chemical-free products, all right? My caveat to that is saying not all chemical is bad, not all natural is good. Arsenic is natural, and that ain't good for anybody. So just being mindful of what you're putting into your body, because especially old legacy brands that we grew up with have been found to be a little carcinogenic. So just know what's in your skincare, because again, it goes down and it is absorbed at the cellular level, okay? So that is the quick and dirty on skincare. We also talked about matching your foundation, how to do that, how to create a really beautiful glowing complexion. When you do your skincare, what I like to do is say I'm coming out of the shower, I'll do my skincare routine, and then I'll brush my teeth, and then I'll do my hair, and then I'll go get dressed, and then I put my makeup on. Why? You want to give that skincare some time to absorb so that you're not fighting against your makeup and all of that. Does that make sense? I see some head nods. Great. So for matching your foundation, you want to make sure that you are taking your body into consideration, okay? A lot of times we have learned that you want to match your foundation to your jawline or to your neck or the inside of your arm. But if you look at the inside of my arm versus my chest, for example, do you see that difference in coloration? I would look very pale and sick if I matched my foundation to the inside of my arm. This part of our arms don't get a lot of sun. Neither does our chin for the most part, because our chin casts a shadow, or sorry, our neck. Our chin casts a shadow over our neck. So that's what makes this part of the neck not a great indicator of what color foundation we should be wearing, right? Because those shadows. If I took my makeup off right now, you would see a pink face, right? I have a lot of just warmth and my face is touch sensitive as well. So when I touch it too much, it gets a little red. So again, if I went to the makeup counter and matched my my foundation to my face, it might look great if I was wearing a turtleneck. But if my body is showing, then it's, you know, I have to take my body into consideration. So my favorite place to match my foundation is right here to my chest. Okay. If your chest tends to be a little red, say if like Kathleen, you like to spend a lot of time in the garden, you might find that this area of your body is quite red from the sun. So sometimes that means going and finding a different area of the body that's a bit more representative of the whole, okay? And that's a great thing, because now you can go to any beauty counter, any drugstore, and say, okay, I'm looking here. I'm not looking here. I'm looking here. And I'm bringing that up into the face, right? So now you know exactly where you should be matching your foundation. So now there's no question about what color you should be. That being said, we are very multifaceted with lots of planes on our face type humans, right? So there has been this sort of misconception in the cosmetics world telling you that everybody should be one shade of foundation. That's definitely not the case. We have highs, we have lows, we have peaks, we have valleys. So you might be one shade in the winter and a different shade in the summer. That's so very common. So do not allow yourself to get super bogged down by the fact that you might have to buy more than one shade of foundation, especially if you are a person of color. The deeper the skin tones, the more variance you have. The cheeks might be a different color than the hairline, which might be a different color than around the mouth. So you kind of have to approach the picking of your complexion products in the same way. Okay? And then finally, we talked about concealing, the different ways in which we conceal, how we conceal our under eyes with, does anyone remember? Those blue and purple shades that we get, the discoloration, the melasma, the hyperpigmentation, all should be covered by more peachy toned concealers. Because now we're using science. We're using the science of color theory. If something is dark, that means it comes from right over here, our blues and purples, which means that we need to find its opposite, which for me is somewhere in the peach, orange, salmon, depending on how deep your skin is, right? To cover it up. Same thing goes for redness if you are a person who has rosacea. If you have a lot of acne, red flare-ups, breakouts, things like that. Same sort of idea. Anything that is red on the face, you want to cover with green. Now, I'm not talking about paint per se. I'm talking about tones, okay? So this is my personal foundation and concealer kit. Do you see how this concealer and this concealer are very different, right? This one is definitely very peachy, and this one has more of a green yellow tinge to it. So this is my guy that I use when I have redness, when I have a pimple or something that's distracting. This peachy guy gets a lot more love because I've got a lot of dark circles and stuff happening under there. So this is going to cover any hyperpigmentation, dark circles, and all of that, okay? And then finally, we did a little bit of contouring, but we'll talk about that as we move along with our details. Again, if you have any more questions or if you want to do the deep dive, feel free to watch the replay. All right. Are we ready to talk about details? Frame and focus. This is the fun part. This is the part that everybody wants to learn about. How do I do a beautiful eye look? How do I fill in my eyebrows and so on and so forth? The way that we're going to approach it is from the top down. So I'm going to talk about brows first, then down to the eyes, and down we go. Okay? Now, I did my complexion first because I just wanted to, do an overview again of what we did last week. But on the whole, I tend to do eyes first and then my complexion. Why? Especially if I'm doing something very dramatic, if I'm using something with a lot of dark colors, dark browns and blacks, we experience a little something sometimes called fallout, where some of those shadows and things fall down onto the skin beneath. And why am I going to put my complexion on in order to have to wipe it off and then replace it? So I'm going to be very careful today because I did my complexion first. But if you plan on doing something that's a bit more dramatic, that has a bit more highly pigmented colors in it, you may want to consider doing your eyes first, brows and eyes first, and then putting your foundation and all of that on after. So skincare, eyes, everything else. Does that make sense? But if you're a minimalist, you can go either way because you're probably just doing one wash of color through the eye, a little mascara, then do it however you like. There are no real hard and fast rules to makeup. There are only suggestions and guidelines. And once you've learned those, then you can break the rules, right? Another caveat I like to talk about is products, right? So we are told that, for example, this is what I use for like creating dimension on my face. We're told that this is a bronzer, right? But I can use this as an eyeshadow just as easily. I use this to contour with. I can use it for a variety of different things because makeup is essentially pigment, aka color, that is either suspended in a liquid, in a cream, or a powder, right? It's all the same. So you put it where you like it. I could have done this exact same contour using an eyeshadow, right? Because again, it's all pigment that is just powdered or liquid or cream, okay? So I encourage you all to get to know the products in your makeup bag and see how you can sort of tweak them and use them in different places and break the rules a little bit. All right. I think those are all of my announcements at this point. So let's get started with our brows. I'm going to share my screen so that I can give you guys a really good visual. Let me know with a head nod or a thumbs up if you can see the brows for your face shape. Excellent, perfect. So first things first is getting to know your face shape. This is important for creating structure in the face through like highlighting and contouring because, for example, you may have seen on the internet somewhere a map of how to contour your face, right? You put it here, you put it here, you put it here. But if you have a teeny tiny little forehead, there's no reason to contour that and make it recede even further, right? Because you're just gonna look like you have no forehead, right? So not everybody needs all the steps. You kind of have to figure out what works for you. So getting to know your face shape is really important for a lot of different reasons when it comes to makeup. This time we are talking about it in reference to how to shape your brows, okay? So getting to know your face shape, let me pull my bangs back a little bit here, is talking about your face in sort of thirds and mapping it out. Forehead, brows to cheeks, and then cheeks to jaw. And when you're looking at your face, you're getting a feel for where the widest points are and where the most narrow points are. And that will tell you what kind of face that you have. And the best way to do this as well, you can go on Google and look up, do a Google search for like celebrity face shapes. And that will give you some really, really specific examples of different face shapes among celebrities and faces that you already know, so that you can make that, that connection. Right? So an oval face shape is sort of, quote unquote, when we're talking like old school makeup artistry, the ideal. What everybody's trying to sort of use makeup to create is that oval face shape. Now, I think that is horse manure. I think you should love whatever face that you're in and just know how to work with the face that you got. But an oval is sort of wide through the cheeks, narrow through the forehead, and narrow through the chin. With that, because it's got soft angles, you want to sort of replicate that with the eyebrow. So if you notice over here on our oval face, that eyebrow has a very soft arch to it. It's sort of heavier. It's very kind of what the modern day brow looks like these days. You know, it's got some good oh, I can't speak. It's good and heavy through the front side of it, and it creates that really nice soft arch, right? Next up, we have our round faces. So our round faces tend to be a bit smaller. So, you know, when you're measuring, nobody is symmetrical, friends, but you get an idea of where the symmetry might fall for your own face by just looking at the forehead, measuring, is it about the same? Okay, great. Is it about the same? Sure, maybe not, maybe yes. A round face is definitely going to have a fuller cheek and might be a little shorter in this direction, right? Because that face is round, they can support a more angled eyebrow. Why? Because you're creating contrast. If you were to give a round face a rounded eyebrow, it would just sort of it doesn't complement the face as well because you're almost making everything super round. So what an angled eyebrow does is it breaks up the face a little bit and gives it a bit more structure. Okay, it will lengthen the face as well because again, a round face tends to be a bit more, you know, square or squat. So creating that lift through the brow creates the illusion of lift through the face. Okay, your long faces, those are the people I think of like Celine Dion. I think of like Sarah Jessica Parker, very oblong, very thin through the face. So because there is so much length, so they might have a larger forehead. Tyra Banks is another great example. Very wide through the forehead and probably very long through the chin. Because of that, we don't want to stretch the face out even more so. So they do well with a much straighter and flatter eyebrow. So as they're filling in their brows, they don't want to do that super severe angle to make their faces appear even longer. A square face, that's like an Angelina Jolie, right? She has a very strong jaw. You can see that there's like, you know, there's width through the forehead. Same width through the cheeks, probably a similar width through the jaw, right? With those, a strong brow provides a defined arch to create a little bit more balance to the face, right? So we can see that it's not as dramatic as, say, the round is, but it definitely still has a more structure to it. You don't want to put a round eyebrow on a square face, okay? Your heart-shaped face is what I am. So I tend to have a widow's peak. I have a bit more width through the top. And then when I'm, you know, not carrying around an extra however many pounds because of COVID, my jaw sort of goes inward in this direction. So soft arches are best for shorter heart-shaped faces, lower arches for longer faces. So again, keeping it soft and not trying to fight against the face shape. And then the diamond-shaped face, thin through here, a little probably thin through the forehead, and wider through the cheeks. Okay, and creating a more rounded brow for that face because it's so angular is going to create a softer look. So get to know your face, right? Would you say that you're more thin through the forehead? Are you more thin through the jaw? Are you wider through the jaw? Things like that, just getting to know your face and sort of the idea of what best fits your face shape. Okay?
Melissa.
So, yes, ma'am.
A quick question. Would you be able to look at us through the thing and kind of give us an idea? Because I'm kind of between two and I'm not really sure.
Yeah, I would probably put you in the round.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was between the round or the heart. I do have a widow's peak, so that's why you threw me off.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So the idea is thinking about, again, breaking your face up into thirds and trying to figure out, you know, where everything lies. What is the widest part? What are you seeing as being the widest part, and what is more narrow?
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. All right. So I'm going to stop share and I'm going to show you how I fill in my eyebrows. And this is kind of the general rule of how to fill in brows. And then you can make those subtle shifts, those subtle little tweaks to make the brows either more angular or more straight based on just kind of what's naturally happening. With brows, you have a little bit of wiggle room to play with, right? But once you go past that tiny little maybe millimeter or two that you have to play with, that's when it becomes very, very obvious that you are changing the shape of your brow. So knowing how to do that in a way that is subtle and soft is great. For my ladies who wear glasses, brows are important. Why? What if I like my bushy brows and don't want to shape them? Then you can wear your brows as bushy as you like, my friend. Maybe just get a little brow gel and make sure the hairs are kind of in place, and then you don't have to worry about filling anything in because you're loving your brows in their natural state. Absolutely. So a brush like this is very helpful for anyone, but particularly my ladies who have fuller brows and really don't want to do a whole lot to their brows. All you would do is just brush those hairs into place and call it a day. Now, brushing your brows into place, or brushing them sort of up, kind of lets you know where you might need a little bit of extra fill, okay? Because I have my heart-shaped face, I'm looking to create a little bit more of an angle and a little bit of a tail, okay? So that means for me, let me get some light over here. There's the light. That means for me that I'm going to be sort of mapping out a straight line from the front of my brow through the arch. So how do we find where the arches are? Let me bring my lights over here because I'm going to be real up and close to the camera here. So the rules, if you will, for mapping your brows. Take a pencil, take a small brush, anything like that, and place it on the bridge of your nose. That's sort of the high point of your nose, or you can place it on the top of your nostril, not down. We'll get down there in a second, but right in here. Placing that brush into place lets me know where my brow should begin, okay? This is how we avoid getting, brows that sort of look like a unibrow. We want to have, separation between the brows. So for me, that means I have a little bit of space here to fill in. Just a couple little hair strokes is all I need to create that beginning point of the brow. Now, from here, I am going to shift my brush through the center of my eye, the iris, the colored part. Once I'm there, and I place my brush down at the top of my brow, that gives me where my arch is. So that gives me an idea of where the peak of the brow should end before it starts making its final descent, right? So we have the front, we have the peak, and now I'm gonna drop the brush down. This is where I'm gonna go ahead and anchor it on the edge of my nostril here, and then place it on the outside portion of my eye. that tells me where my brow should end. Now, why is that important? Right? Because brows frame the face. Brows are important because they frame the face. You can't put up a beautiful painting in your home or a photograph with just a thumbtack, right? We're going to put a frame around it so that it looks nice. And what happens is brows have a tendency of changing the shape of your face, right? So if they come down too far, now all of a sudden your eyes are looking droopy. So just, tweezing that little bit on the outside edge has a way of creating that sort of lift to the face and to the eye. It really does make a difference. If your brow starts too far in, say I only have this portion of my brow, which, if you're a victim of the 90s or the early 2000s and the time of over tweezing, then you might know what I'm talking about. So when your brows are too far apart, they sort of create an imbalance. And makeup, like skincare, is all about finding a place of balance. Okay? So enough talking. Here we go. So I'm going to grab a couple of my favorite tools. Now, for my minimalists, for my ladies who don't want to do anything major with their brows, something like this is perfect. This is a brow gel. This one happens to be tinted. This is the one that I use, but you can buy them in clear. And what this does is it brushes your brows into place and holds them there, right? Because if you have a lot of brow hair, if they're particularly long, then you, like me, because I have curly hair, will find that sometimes your brows get a little haywire. And sometimes just that little attention to detail of brushing the brows into place and holding them there will be just enough, right? Now, for my ladies with glasses, I was going to talk to you guys a moment ago. Why is it important for you to do your eyebrows? Because the glasses tend to take over the face quite a bit. And when you're choosing glasses, it's really nice to pick a frame. Again, pick whatever you like, wear whatever you like. But it's nice to pick a frame that allows your brows to show. Because again, it allows for expression and it allows for a frame to the face so that your glasses aren't taking over the face. They are complementary to your face. Yes? Okay. So what I'm going to do with this tinted brow gel, I tend to always get a little bit on my skin right there. So Q-tips, essential part of doing makeup. So what I like to do is sort of back comb in the same way that I did with that brow shaping brush. I sort of back comb my brows into place so that I can see where the gaps are, so I can see what needs a little bit of love. The other reason why I like to back comb them a bit is because that's kind of the modern look for a brow. It's much more natural, more organic. Sometimes I call it a boy brow. Just because, again, it's more rugged. It's not as pristine and perfect like what we've been seeing over the past few years through social media. And I'm happy with that. All right. So now my brows are pushed up with my brow gel. The cool thing, this one is by Lime Life. The cool thing about this one in particular, again, it's tinted. So if you happen to have some grays coming through the brow, this will tint them a bit. And then it also has fibers in it. So if you've ever used a fiber mascara that has a little filament in it that builds and builds and builds the lashes, it does the same thing with the brows. So if your brow hair tends to be very fine and thin, if you have sparse brows, a tinted brow gel with a little bit of oomph to it is going to do that to your brow as well. All right. I see some head nods. I see y'all are with me. I love it. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to get a pencil. You can find these at a drugstore. CoverGirl makes great ones. This one, again, is by Lime Life because, again, I sell a lot of Lime Life, so I've got a lot of Lime Life. But, you can find these things just about anywhere. It's very, very thin if you look at the tip of it. So what this is, it's a waxy material. Wax sits on top of the skin, so it gives the brow, again, a little bit more meatiness because it pushes everything forward, right? The important thing about picking a brow pencil is to find one that is a cool tone. If you've ever put a brown that's like a reddish brown on your eyebrows, you know how distracting that is. We are essentially trying to create a shadow. Like, ooh, is that a hair or is it just, I don't know. I don't know what I'm looking at. So oftentimes when you're using these brow pencils, you're going to notice how sort of sheer that is. Again, it's not meant to be super opaque because we're not trying to make a very distracting Groucho Marx looking eyebrow, right? Okay, so I'm going to, again, map my brow out using my pencil so you guys can see with a little bit more clarity what I'm talking about. So I'm going to create a line right there. You see there's just like a little bit of a gap between the line that I created and where my brow begins. So I'm going to fill that in. Next up, my arch going through the center of my eye. My arch is already pretty defined by my natural brow hair. So I'm just going to place a dot right there just to give it some, just so I know where I'm going. And then dropping it down to the side of the eye and the outside of the brow. That tells me where my brow should end. Anything beyond that is going to make the eye look droopy. Okay, so from here, I use my little pencil and I can flick that pencil upward in short strokes, and that gives me sort of the illusion of hair. Then the spoolie on the other end softens. So sometimes filling brows, as you get more comfortable doing it, it's something you got to practice, friends, because sometimes it's one of those things like it's not until you see it that you really see it. You know, you got to practice it a few times until it like clicks. Oh, that's where I fill in. That's how my brow is supposed to look. Got it. So with brows, it can be as you get comfortable, it can very much be something where you're adding and pulling back, adding, putting back, add a little bit more, pull it back a little more. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to create that nice straight line from here all the way through to the arch of my brow. So starting at the bottom corner, and I'm quite literally making a line. And don't be shy, like get this product through your brow hair. Also, I didn't mention, you can do this exact same thing with an eyeshadow. If you have a nice taupe eyeshadow that's not too heavy, not too warm or red, you can take a brush like this. This is a brow brush that has a little bit of an angle to it, and you can do this exact same step using a powder that you may already have in your makeup bag. So for me right here, I get this little hole right there above my pencil. So I'm really just gonna go in and wiggle this pencil back and forth just to fill in the gaps a bit. Don't forget about the top of the brow as well. Going in, filling in any little areas of sparseness that I see. And then what I'm doing is I'm just creating that last bit of the tail, reinforcing the hair that's already there, filling in any gaps. I can go in with my Q-tip after the fact and just do a little cleanup around the edges. Oh no, Melissa, I've put on too much eyebrow product. What do I do? I've gone too far. No worries. Breathe. Go back to your spoolie brush and brush it through. What that spoolie brush does is it breaks up the product so it's not so dense, so it's not so heavy, and it gives it a certain softness that mimics hair. And if I take, you know, as I brush through, it took off a little bit of that, so I'm going to go put that back in and leave it alone. And now, I mean, comparison, this brow to that brow, because I have that sort of sweetheart face, it said give it a little angle, give it some dimension. So there I am. Okay? So practice your brows on a day when you don't have to be out of the house in 10 minutes or 15 minutes. Give yourself some time to get acclimated, really do the mapping and getting used to where you should place your product, because not everybody needs a full eyebrow of product. Sometimes you brush your hairs into place and just fill in the little gaps. It might just be a little here, a little here, a little here. Very, very understated. And then once you do get used to it, it takes 2 seconds, no time at all. Another important reason, or another reason for me that why I focus on my eyebrows these days, I'm like concealer, brows, and lashes. You know why? Because we're masked. So it really is all about eyes these days, because I love wearing a red lip and I cannot wear my red lips anymore. So I find that I'm paying a lot more attention to things like my eyebrows, you know, doing a little something extra with my eyes that I would not have necessarily done in the past, and then really layering on the mascara. Okay? Are there any questions about eyebrows before we move on?
I have a question, Melissa.
Yes, ma'am.
As women age or we have tendency to have certain illnesses, we lose our eyebrows. I have had a thyroid disease and also I've undergone chemo. So I have had mine tattooed, but they gradually have come back a little bit, of course, sparingly, like you said. Is there something that you can recommend that we can put on our eyebrows to help with growth or at least to keep the ones that we have?
Excellent question.
Okay.
You know what I love using, and there are products that are specifically formulated for hair growth. Things like a lattice, I would be, proceed with caution because again, that's a chemical that you're putting on yourself. And a lattice will you put it somewhere and it's going to grow hair there. So if you put it here, you're going to grow hair here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So be careful about that sort of thing. I love a facial oil for that. Marula oil is a beautiful, especially nighttime oil that you can use and will help to aid in growth and hair growth. So I've heard people who use marula oil just a part of their skincare routine at night who have said my lashes have doubled in length. My brows have gotten, things like that.
Okay.
So, yeah, find a good skincare oil that will also aid in cell regeneration. I talked a lot about One Drop Wonder last week, which is just a 1-ingredient Pomifera oil that boosts cell turnover. And it's great for things it's great for skincare, right? Because it makes your skincare work better, but it's also wonderful for healing cuts and scars and, things like that because it literally boosts the turnover. If you think about it, babies, right? Babies' cell turnover happens every 3 to 4 days. So they can get, kids, they can get a little scratch or a cut in a few days and it's gone, right? Whereas as we age, you get a bruise and it's there for 2 months, because again, the cell turnover slows down as we age. So things like that, and we're finding it a lot through skincare oils, is a good way to aid in the turnover of the cells, which includes hair growth. Okay. Yes. So One Drop Wonder is one of them. The other is Marula. I'll put it in the chat. Merula oil. All right. So the last little thing I'm going to show you, and this is a great tip for anyone who's lost a lot of brow hair due to illnesses, due to treatments and things like that. The sort of microbladed brow look is very popular right now. And a way to cheat that is by using a very fine pointed eyeliner. Or you can purchase a product that is quite specifically for brows. Do you see how thin that is? Yeah, exactly. So this is a bit more of an advanced technique, but feel free to play with it. What you can do is then literally drawing on individual hairs. So I was able to take this eyeliner because it's sort of like a paintbrush. It's a very, very fine pointed paintbrush where some of these, when you buy these little liquid liner pens, they can be felt tipped and too stiff. This glides on just like a paintbrush, right? So this is how through the front of my brow where I needed maybe a centimeter of space filled in, I create those little flicks of the wrist, and now it looks like I have hair. Another thing that the kids are doing these days, you can take this underneath the eyebrow and make a line. And that's how you make that really sharp eyebrow. Again, stylistic choices, not for everybody.
Melissa,
ma'am.
I have the thin one like that too. I did buy one, which I can't find. My daughter rearranged some stuff, but I have the one that also has like 3 little it's like a claw, and it helps you make the hair-like things. That one's a little bit harder to, I don't know if you've ever used it before. Is there a certain way you should probably use that one?
It comes with a certain amount of finesse.
Yes.
You have to be careful with how the pressure in your hand. Okay. So now my hands are sweaty and I can't take top off. Okay. So if you hold this really close to the end, you've got all that pressure from your hand pressing onto the brush. So chances are you're going to really
too much.
Do a number. So just hold it back a little further and you barely want to use the tip of it.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I have one of those.
Great.
Yeah.
We'll
Before I had them tattooed, I wouldn't even leave the house with eyebrows because it didn't matter if I had nothing on, but I had to have because I looked like an alien, like I had nothing. So if I at least had my eyebrows, I was okay. So.
There's a really funny meme on the internet floating around somewhere that you can look up called Celebrities Without Eyebrows. And it's literally photos of celebrities on red carpets with their eyebrows removed by Photoshop, and they look weird. I mean, it's one of those things. So eyebrows are super important, and it's one of those steps that is often overlooked by people, but it's one of those things that when you do your brows, it just puts a bow on it. Right? All right. Any other questions about brows before we move on? Okie dokie. Let's get started. All right, so brows are on. Next thing we're gonna do are our eyes. I'm gonna start from very minimal and then we'll move it up to about, an evening-ish sort of look. If there's anything specific you want me to cover, please either put it in the chat or come off mute. I don't know if we're talking to the type of group that wants to learn how to create a cat eye today or a very smoky eye. I don't know if that's who we're talking to, but I'm trying to talk to everybody. All right, so this was a tip that I gave last week, but I'm going to reiterate it. Again, these are just powders. You can use them anywhere. I used this powder to create this sort of contour that I have going around the edges of my face, right? And so when I'm in a hurry, which is most of the time, or I'm trying to do a quick 5-minute makeup, which is my jam, I am not a glamazon by any means, right? So I'm doing my contour, and then what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take whatever's left on this brush and just go over my eye. This is how you're going to get the most cohesive, one wash of color eye look, right? Because we're creating structure. Just like we're creating structure on the face, that's what eyeshadow is, creating structure on the eye. It's not until you start introducing lots of colors and things like that that it becomes more artistic. But today we're gonna cover the natural stuff, right? The neutrals. So you can absolutely just place a little bit of bronzer on your eyelids, put on mascara, a little eyeliner, and out the door you go. And you've done a little something, right? I also talked about last week how I love doing that with blush. That's like an old school rule, right? You take a little blush and you put it on your eyelids, or who knows the trick where you put on a little lipstick and then you take that lipstick and you put a little on your cheeks and you put a little on your eyes. One and done. And that just adds a little flush to the skin. It makes your skin look healthy. That's what blush is intended to do, right? To make you look like you drink a lot of water and you get exercise and things like that. So you can totally do that as a quick and easy out the door sort of look, right? The other thing that I would do to step this up a notch is to take, my drawers are being a little temperamental. All right, to take something like an eyeshadow that just has a little bit of a shimmer to it. This is kind of a vanilla. You can take a highlighter if you have a highlighter in your makeup bag that you would use on your cheeks, and just put a little bit on your eyelids like this. Through the center particularly, because the center of the eye is kind of what we want to pull forward. And do you see how that just add a little bit of interest? Mascara, out the door. So just like we did with brows, let's talk a little bit about eye shape and how that determines your decision making, right? Just wanted to give you that really quick and easy eye look to start off with. So I'm going to share my screen one more time. Here's an eye chart. Share. Where'd it go? Here it is. Can we see that okay? I might have to scroll a little bit so that we can see it all. I wonder if I can. Is that better? There we go. Perfect. So these are quite literally celebrities from red carpet. So we can play a fun game of like, whose eyes are these? But you have to get to know your eye shape as well to determine sort of where you should place the color. Okay? So just like the oval face shape was quote unquote the sort of European standard of beauty face shape, when it comes to eye shape, it's the almond shaped eye, meaning that it sort of tapers down in the middle and then sort of creates a upturned sort of look, this almond eye, which I believe is Anne, whatever her name is. I can't remember her last name.
Anne Hathaway.
Hathaway. There she is. She has a little bit more of a downturned eye, but she still has that almond shape. Now, let me get to my notes on my phone so I can give you much more. I had notes. For our almond shaped eye, I mean, you can do any type of map that you've seen about eyeshadow. It works for an almond shaped eye, right? Essentially what we're trying to always do is to create lift through our eyes and through our faces using makeup. So that's why you see that little bit of a shade oftentimes when you see maps of how to do your eyeshadow, because that creates a lift. So the almond shaped eye is great for that. For our round eye next to her, that is Katy Perry, I believe. You know, looking at your eye, seeing, does it seem to go all the way around? Does it have much of that sort of point on the inner corner? If it doesn't, then you have a round shaped eye. The way that you create lift is to, from the lash line, create that pull upward, either with a cat eye, or you can do it with just a little bit of shadow. You don't want to do sort of a fully rimmed dark smoky eye, because then that's when you get into like raccoon territory. It's not doing anything to change the shape of your eye. So if you're looking to enhance that round eye, woo, girl, go all the way around the eye and show off those beautiful round eyes. If not, if you're trying to, again, create that lift, you're going to focus on that lash line, pulling everything upward. Okay? Next up, we have a monolid. So a lot of Asian eyes could have that monolid, meaning that it doesn't tuck back. It's sort of flat through the front of the eye. And the exposed lid, this portion is typically tucked under a flap of skin. So with that, you sort of shade through the center of the eye and pull it straight upward. And with the monolid, you can do really beautiful things with glossy and shimmery tones on the top lid, the lid that is always exposed, to sort of pull it forward. You can do some things to create the illusion of a socket, if that's what you're into. I mean, everybody has their way of doing things, and some people, again, are like, I love my monolids. I don't want to make them look any different than what they look like. So that's when you sort of play with the different textures and things. Okay, hooded eyes. So what you're looking at, this is Blake Lively. So when your forehead is relaxed, if you find that the skin on the top of the eye here sort of sits on top of the lid, not in the same way that a monolid does, where it's just a little bit heavy, then what you have is a hooded eye. And what you do for a hooded eye is lots of lashes, lots of mascara to pull the lashes up and over the hood. As you can see, there's not a lot of eyeshadow happening here, right? All you see is that little bit of a whisper of lash on Blake Lively. What you can do is sort of like what I did here, where I created, you know, if her eyes were to be closed, I'm certain that she would have some kind of a very sparkly or metallic eyeshadow happening here, so that on those moments when she blinks, it sort of catches the light and gives it a little interest, right? But when you have something covering your main lid, you have to pull all that color up above it so that it shows, right? What you want your eyeshadow, whatever, you want to do all this work with your eye closed so that when you open your eye, it just disappears, right? So if that is a concern of yours, if that's something that you're fighting against, we'll talk about it as I do the demonstration. You'll be able to see it a little bit more clearly. But what I'm talking about there, and I have to do this too because I have a bit of a hood here, is I have to make sure that I bring the color up over the hood. Okay. All right. So upturned eyes. This is an Angelina Jolie. She definitely has that almond shape because it comes in sort of like a fox in the center, and then they just come upwards. So those are great for, you know, beautiful lashes, a beautiful cat eye. She's not going to ever do anything to pull the eye downward. So you're not really ever going to see her with like a big, heavy, smoky eye. She's always going to sort of work with the shape of the eye to create that upward turn. This downward turned eye, I don't know who that is, but downturned eyes are also known as puppy dog eyes, right? So the eyes that sort of come down on the edges. I think of like an Oprah sometimes. You'll see actually a lot of newscasters and things like that actually have downturned eyes because the thought is that downturned eyes make you look more sympathetic. That's a thing. So with a downturned eye, the placement of the eyebrow is important, right? We don't want a long eyebrow with a downturned eye because everything just pulls downward. Again, creating that lift. And we'll talk again about how this is going to play in when we start doing our eyes. And then the other thing we want to think about is a deep set eye versus a protruding eye. Can you guys see that bottom set, or is, okay, this is just in the way for me. Perfect. Close set eyes. So kind of like when we're talking about the face shape, we have thirds, thirds, and thirds. Same thing with the eye. How do I know if I have a close set eye or a deep set eye? You take the width of your eye, right? And you place it in between. And if your eye width fits in between the two eyes, then you have more of a symmetrical eye, right? If you have less space, so I take the shape of my eye, the width of my eye, and I place it in between. And if it's bigger, then my eyes are closer together. Does that make sense? Whereas a wide set eye, again, I think of Oprah, her eyes are really spread apart. So she can take the width of her eye and it fits in between and there's still space. Their eyes are a little more spread apart. So with a close set eye, you are not going to do a lot of things that are going to pull the eyes together even further. You're going to want to pull, you're going to want to do things that are going to make the eyes appear that they're a bit farther apart. So putting some heaviness through here and a lot of light through here so that it looks closer to the camera and more spread. Whereas a wide set eye, they're going to place much more color through here, through the center of the eye. It's kind of strange when you think about it, but when you see it, it makes a lot of sense. So taking that sort of contour shade or whatever it is and putting it right in here, because that will pull the eyes closer together versus making them look more spread apart. So you're never gonna see Oprah in an eye where it's like super like winged out like that because it's gonna pull her eyes farther apart. You're always gonna see Oprah in a smoky eye because it pulls them together. Okay? That was a lot. All right, I'm gonna stop the share. All right, so I showed you the very simple get out the door, one shade of color eyeshadow look. You can do that with any color. You can do it with a purple, with a blue, with a green, depending on what color your eyes are, right? I have on my Lime Life site fully customized eyeshadow palettes based on your eye color. This is a blue-eyed eyeshadow palette because, again, we're using science. We're using color theory. Colors that are across from each other on the color wheel make each other look more prominent, more beautiful, more striking, right? So my blue eye is across from orange, which means these sort of orangey toned browns, golds, bronzes, you know, vanilla sort of colors like this guy here is going to make a blue eye pop, right? Because opposites attract. For my green eyes, green and red are across from each other, but we're not going to wear red on our eyes because we don't want to look like we have pink eye. But we are going to pick colors that have a bit more of a rosy tone to them, right? I purchased this today and one of them came broken. I'm sorry. But this is like a rose gold. We have this sort of violet-y bronze, darker bronze. We have these sort of creamy pinky shades, things like that. For a brown eye, brown eyes can wear whatever they want. Brown eyes look really beautiful with blue though as well, especially if you have a brown eye sort of like mine that's kind of orangey. Again, blue and orange cross from each other. So if your brown eyes have that ambery, fiery look to them, You can wear a beautiful striking blue eyeshadow, and that will make the orange and the amber and the fire and the brown eyes really pop. Then if you have more of a hazel eye, meaning that it's got a lot of yellow in it, then you're really going to lean towards the more violets and purples and things if you're looking for color. Okay? So purples look good on everybody. Purple is a neutral when it comes to eyeshadow in my book. It looks great on everyone. And then you have, you know, your neutrals. Finding a neutral that works for your skin tone is going to be important. So this guy is a neutral palette, just comes with a few shades. They're all matte with the exception of this one that has a little bit of shimmer to it. But this is for a deeper skin tone, right? Because the way that I know that is because by looking at these two, do you see how vibrant they are? If you had fairer skin, that would be a little bit overwhelming. So if I can get into this drawer really quickly. So here's an example of what I mean, right? These are both sort of neutral palettes. This one is going to be more so for my fairer skinned friends because the colors are just a bit more muted. The pinks are a little softer. The creams are a little more muted as compared to this guy. These are still very neutral shades, but these are going to pop off of a medium to deeper skin tone just a bit more, which is why they included the blue, because women of color tend to have brown eyes generally. Okay, so that makes sense. All right, let's put on some eyeshadow. So what I'm going to do first is grab what I like to call a transition color. Okay, that bronzer that I put on my eyes, perfect transition color. Seamless because you're wearing it on the rest of your face. But for the purposes of just being able to see things a bit more clearly, I'm going to grab sort of a medium toned brown. It can be more of a taupe if that's what you have in your makeup bag, but sort of this middle shade. I'm anchoring my fluffy brush. You can see I've got lots of powder on it, always tapping off the excess, and I'm going to anchor it just under my brow bone. So if everybody find where your brow bone is. Literally the bone structure. Don't think about the skin. Don't think about any of that. Just where the brow bone, excuse me, is when your forehead, sorry, when your forehead is relaxed. Placing that brush right in here and sweeping it back and forth. I, of course, forgot to grab my water. Okay, so I'm taking that color and I'm sweeping it back and forth across my brow bone. And you see how that creates just a little bit of dimension? It sort of carves out the eye a little bit more. Taking it on the other side. And eyeshadow can be difficult because, oh goodness, please forgive me. Eyeshadow can be difficult because a lot of times if you're doing it with your eyes closed or you're doing this thing, try to get away from doing one eye closed and one eye open because you are contorting your face in a way that is very unnatural. And when you open your eyes, things are going to be all cattywampus. So if you can get into the habit of sort of tilting your head back and then looking at yourself almost down, if the mirror is in front of you, or if you want, you can hold a mirror down here and look down into the mirror. Does that make sense? So that your eyelids can be relaxed and you can still see what you're doing. So get away from this. Don't do that anymore, friends. All right. So with my fluffy brush, I have gone back and forth and I have carved out that eye. Now we want to create lift, always creating lift. A little pro makeup artist secret here. Now that I've created that brow bone, I'm going to take that color and actually go around the eye. We're going to paint outside the lines a little bit. And so this gets added into whatever contour or whatever we have going up there. But it's one of those things that help to create that illusion of lift. It gives us a little, this reminds me of the 80s a bit, right? Like in the 80s, it was always like your eyeshadow got connected to your blush, got connected to everything else, right? But with a neutral tone like this, and especially if you're using your bronzer that you used on your face, it's really not noticeable. It's only when you're doing this in like a blue that it makes it really noticeable. But this is the way that in which you create that lifted effect to the eye. Okay? All right. So then the next thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to dip into my deeper shade. I like to work from the outside of the eye in versus the inside of the eye out, if that makes sense. So now I'm going to take sort of a medium tone brown. You can use something with more of a reddish tone, or you see how this one is a bit more taupey. It's your choice. You really do whatever feels good. I'm going to go with this, with the more red tone for me today, just because that's where I felt like going. You can certainly use the same brush for this. You can just wipe the brush on a little paper towel, or you can just build off of each other. But I'm gonna basically do my whole eye with 2 brushes. Okay, so now I'm gonna place my brush right here on the outer edge of my eye, just underneath where I place that transition color. And I'm just gonna do little circles to build up that color on the outer edge. Little circles, little circles, little circles. And then this is where we remember, like, we're not holding our brushes way down here. We're holding the brush farther back so that the bristles can move freely. And then you can go in and marry that color upward into that transition shade. But do you see how that just sort of carved out the eye a bit? The biggest thing is that when you pick up color, whether it's for your face or for your eyes, wherever you put that brush down first is what's going to have the largest deposit of color, right? So you want to work in a small space and then blend outwards and give yourself, room to grow. I see Cindy is with me. You want to give yourself room to grow, which is why last week when we talked about contouring, remember how I took it from here and just went to there? And then as we blended, it moved and it growed and it diffused. It's the same thing with your eye. You place that brush down where you want it, and then you start making those little circles, and the brush will naturally pick up product and move product. So as you continue to make those little circles and do those fine little motor movements, you're gonna see how it pushes the color into place, okay? So that's a 2-color eye. You could just leave it like this, again, liner, mascara, and go from there. Let's see, let me do the other eye just in case you missed it the first time. So, picking up that sort of reddish brown, I'm placing it right here. That's where I want the color to be the strongest. Because again, I'm trying to make that upward cut. So I'm not going to put it way down here. I'm not going to put it, I'm placing it right here where I want the highest bit to be. And then I'm making little circles, little circles, little circles, little circles, little circles. And then what I like to do is sort of marry the color inward. So then sometimes I'll do just a little back and forth, but most of the time I'm in little circle land with this particular technique, and then I'll take it into the other color so that there's no lines of demarcation. I want the colors to naturally transition. Makeup is one of those things, like, don't get lost in the sauce. Like, put a little bit down, step back. Are you liking what you're seeing? Do you feel like you need a little more? Great. Melissa, oh no, I've done too much. What do I do? You, my friend, are going to grab a clean brush. Do I have a clean brush around here somewhere? Sure. Grab a clean brush with nothing on it and just go over top. And what that clean brush does is it picks up excess product, right? So don't feel concerned about going too far. Sometimes it's just a matter of blending for another 30 seconds or taking a clean brush and picking up the excess product. Cindy, go ahead and take yourself off mute.
After you, this is really terrific. After you put the makeup on the eye with the little circles, how far into the eye do you go when you are moving the brush around to put more color on?
Yeah, so what I did is to blend that color out, I brought it to about the midline. So I placed the brush where I wanted the most color. I blended, 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 even farther than you think you've got to blend sometimes. And then to marry it to the color that I'm going to put on the inside, I just did little sweeps this way in towards the center line. Does that make sense?
Yes, thank you.
Perfect. My pleasure. All right. I'm going to dip into this broken eyeshadow because it's too pretty. It was the one I was most excited for and it came broken. But I can use a little bit of the excess there to get my point across. So now, this is a 2-color eye. So we did a 1 color, now we're at 2 colors. From here, the way that you create that extra added dimension, if you take a brush like this, that is a bit more firm and dense, these are typically flat on one side. It's got a dome shape. Unlike this one that is sort of fluffy and meant to blend a bunch of colors together. This one is meant to place product down. The way that you get a really great pop of color, say you have a really beautiful metallic or a shimmer, and sometimes when you put those shimmers down, they look so diffused. You don't get that richness from it. The way that you can really get the richness out of your eyeshadows is by using a setting spray, believe it or not. So I'm going to use this tiny little setting spray and I'm going to spray my brush just a tiny bit. And what that will do is when I pick up this eyeshadow, it will reinforce it because it's got the setting spray with it. And using an eyeshadow wet just gives it more impact. So for me, I'm placing that super shimmery color right here. And I have to be mindful of where my fold is. Do you see that fold in my skin right there? If I were to stop there, you really wouldn't see much of that shimmer. So I can take this just a bit over the fold, almost into the eyebrow, and take it a little higher than I would even think. Do you see how that, and if I marry it in with that deeper shade, sort of blurring out the edges, now I have that almond shaped eye look. Cool? So that's 3 colors. This is something that you can use with any colors, right? Your transition color, say if we were doing in purples, this transition color could be like a nice pink or a nice lavender. This deeper shade could be a really pretty eggplant. And then this on the inner corner could be a nice like rose gold, you know? If you're doing blues, if you're doing greens, all you're doing is take a medium shade, a deeper shade, and then a little bit something with a shimmer so that it attracts the light, it catches the light and pulls forward and draws the eye. Okay? Perfect. Now, is there anyone in the room that is interested in learning a smoky eye? Am I doing a smoky eye on this eye for you guys today, or are we going to stay away from it? Oh, I see people coming off. Okay, we're doing a smoky eye.
Go for it.
All right, I'm going to be looking crazy just for you.
Soon.
Just for you. I'm going to look a little lopsided. So a smoky eye, for a long time, people thought this is a smoky eye, right? But really what people consider a smoky eye is just a really nicely blended eyeshadow. A traditional smoky eye, right? What was invented in the 90s with the supermodels of the 90s, right? Is an eye that is dark on the lash line and diffused outward. That is a true traditional smoky eye. You can do a smoky eye with any color, right? Back in the day, it was literally like black eyeliner that someone would just sort of rub until it sort of diffused all the way up. You can do it with a brown. You can do it with a color. I love doing a brown, so I'm going to show you how to do that with a nice brown eyeshadow. I'm going to first grab a brown eyeliner. and place that brown eyeliner starting in the center of the eye, haphazardly, kind of all over. Right? And I'm almost making a small pyramid. Pulling it upwards. But not, again, I'm giving myself room to grow. I didn't put it from end to end. I focused on sort of the center here. Now, this eyeliner dries down quick, so I need to move faster. Where's my brush? Ah! Where's the brush I want? There it is. Okay, so I'm going to take a fluffy brush. This one has a bit tight bristles. The bristles on this are a bit tight, so it's really going to push the product around. Sometimes if the brush is too soft, it's not going to really do the job of like pushing certain products around. So all I'm doing, oops, excuse me, kicking things, bumping things, is pulling upward from that dark line. And we're just getting rid of the line, getting rid of the line of demarcation and softening that all up. So this creates a base for my smoky eye. You can do this with a black eyeshadow. You know it's really pretty? Doing this with a black eyeliner and then doing a really pretty color on top of it because the black underneath makes the color more punchy. It makes it stronger. But we're going to keep it simple here. This is a very wearable, everyday sort of smoky eye. So now I'm going to take this deeper brown. I'm going to place it on my dome brush, starting in the center. And I'm just going to tap over top of that liner because naturally liner can be a little patchy sometimes. You may not get it quite right, but that's fine because the liner is just meant to be almost like a primer. So now I'm going to open my eye, relax my forehead, and see what's showing. Because again, I've got that fold. So I'm going to get all that falls underneath the fold and then relax a little bit and go a bit over the fold. Oops, and now I'm throwing brushes. Okay. And from here, we blend out the edges. Little circles, windshield wiper, anything that will get the edges moving and softened. And now we have a traditional smoky eye. We haven't done anything underneath, but this is what a traditional smoky eye is. Dark, all the way diffused up to the brow. Where this, I like to call this a contoured eye, right? Because you've got the contour, but you still have a good amount of light coming from the eyelid. Okay? And there's the difference. One liner, one eyeshadow can be anything you want. All right. Now we're good and lopsided, but you get the idea. All right. Let's talk about any questions about eyeshadow before we move on to eyeliner. Nope. All right. We're going to go a little over today, guys. I'm sorry if you have to go early. I apologize. I talk a lot, but we'll move it along. Eyeliner. The easiest way to get your eyeliner on in a way that you're not constantly going back and forth like, ooh, this is thicker, and now I have to make this thicker. Oh no, I made that too thick. Now I have to go back over here, and then you end up like a panda. The easiest way to do that is to place it in an area called the waterline. The waterline is that little bit of skin underneath the lashes, or if you're talking about underneath here, just before the eye sort of turns over, the eyelid turns over. So apologies if you get a little queasy by eyeballs, but I got to show you how to do it. So I place my eyeliner right here on the edge of my lashes, and I take this liner across my lash line. Just a few times. And what that does, what eyeliner is intended to do, is make the lashes look fuller, thicker, more voluminous. And this is the easiest way to do that so that it goes right where you want it every single time. It's thin, it's crisp, it's not distracting. You see that it's a subtle difference that makes. On my smoky eye, let's do that one in black. Then once you have that line, and the cool thing about that is that, have you ever put on eyeliner before and then looked at yourself and be like, I can still see skin. Like, I don't see the line, I still see skin. That is how you get rid of the skin. You got to go underneath. And the cool thing about this liner, you want to find a liner. Urban Decay makes beautiful ones. We make great ones. Find a liner that is meant to be very waterproof. It goes on opaque. You see how easy that went on and how dark it went on. So that I can go womp womp and be done and know that it's going to stay there. It's going to be dark. It's not going to move. It's not going to transfer to my lower lash line, right? Because I put this down, I put it in place. And I'm not going to squeeze my eyes together or do anything like that for about 10, 15 seconds. Then once it's in place, it's not going to move. All right? Because this eye is my smoky eye, I can go to the bottom lash line and do the exact same thing. And you can build and bringing those two edges together. And that's a fully rimmed eye is what you're seeing here. Whereas this one, it's a little bit more subtle, a little bit more understated because I used a brown instead of a black, but it still gives me that good definition. Anybody would need to see a quick cat eye? I'll do it super fast for you. And it's gonna go on this eye because that makes sense because this eye is my lifted eye. Whew. Let's see. I'll do it in a black so you can see it. So, same pencil or same marker that I used earlier for my eyebrows, but this time in a black. Cat eye. Remember the way that we sort of measured out our eyebrow earlier? Like that? Your cat eye is going to follow along the same trajectory, right? If you pull the cat eye down, like sometimes when you pull it in a different direction, it looks a little funky. So if you can keep it along the same direction as nose, eye, brow, then you're going to be right where you need to be. You want to relax your forehead here. Again, I have a fold. I have a hooded eye, which means I have a little line here that's going to interrupt my straight line. So I have to go outside of that. So my cat eye actually starts way down here at my bottom lash line. If I take my liner and just create a little line right there from my bottom lash line, that gives me my first part of my cat eye. Can you guys see that okay? Or is the light too bad? Okay. Then from here, you want to target the center of that line and use that line to connect to the top or the apex of your eye, right? Your eye comes up in the center for most people, right? I'm not going to take this line all the way down into the center of the eye, right? Because that's when you get too heavy, very Egyptian looking and all of that. If we want to make it subtle, I already have that line underneath my lashes. So that creates the front part of the cat eye, and then I'm just making it gradually more thick and more dramatic. Now I'm just throwing things all over the place. Okay, so you can do this by holding a mirror underneath you as well, kind of like we were talking about before, so you can look down. So I'm going to take it from the center here. And not breathe. While I create almost like a little graphic. Do you see that there's a big hole right here? Now all I have to do is just fill that in. Now we have a cat eye. I'm not going to pretend like this doesn't take lots of practice, because it does. But it's one of those things, you got to have a steady hand, and you have to have a good tool that you're not fighting with, right? Again, this is like a paintbrush, so I can just do, it is going to follow my every little movement. So the more fluid I can be with my hand, the more fluid the product is going to flow. Yes, what's your question, Cindy?
When you did the one before where you did it under the eye, on the bottom, how would you put the line on the bottom. Yeah. How did you go in the eye or under the eye?
Yeah, so underneath on your lower lash line, there's an area where the lashes meet the water line of the eye.
Yes.
So that little strip of skin, you can take a Q-tip, wipe that, and get any like excess like moisture off of the lash line, and then you take your liner and go back and forth until it comes off. But again, that is a very product specific technique. So you have to make sure you have a good eyeliner that you don't have to fight with.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So now we have cat eye over here. Eye is lifted, eye is contoured. Over here we have a smoky eye. Underneath, you're like, if you enjoy a little eyeliner underneath your lash line, you can absolutely build that up. This is a super important step for my monolid, my Asian eyes, because oftentimes they have a lot more to work with down here. So all I'm doing is I put a little bit of liner underneath my lashes this time, and I'm just connecting it to the outer edge of the smoky eye. Because again, you can see where the color follows that same trajectory, right? So all I'm doing is just smoking out the outer edge. And that's my fully rimmed smoky eye. Under this side, you can leave it alone. Or if you like to have a little bit of shadow underneath your eye, you can take your, whatever your transition shade was, and place just a little bit underneath the lashes. You can even dip into your deeper shade if you prefer a bit more of a standout. And I'm never taking it all the way over, right? Because that creates a lot of heaviness. If you take your lower liner all the way in, you want to give it a little bit of a gap and continue to move everything upward, okay? So about halfway through the eye, I pull it up. I can pull it up into where my cat eye is. And that just helps to create that sort of, again, almond-shaped eye. All right. We're rocking and rolling, friends. Lashes. All right. We're not going to talk about putting on false lashes today. That's a different class. But I do want to show you how to properly curl your lashes if you like to use this little gadget. Yes? So, first things first, please make sure she's clean. Clean off any excess product. You can take just a little bit of rubbing alcohol on a Q-tip or on a cotton swab and just clean that off, okay? From here, again, our hands generate a lot of pressure and a lot of force. This is not a tool that requires you to squeeze the lashes, because what happens? Instead of getting a curl, you get a crimp, right? So your lashes, sure, they're up, but they're like, whomp, versus being a really nice subtle curl. I'll show you with this eye because this one's a little bit more exposed. You can see it a little better. So I'm placing this lash curler in its intended state. I'm going to call it perpendicular to the ground. Okay? So it sort of rests on my cheek here. And all I'm going to do is just 1, 2, 3. 3 to 5 times is enough, right? Just a nice gentle press. Then the next thing that you're going to do is lift horizontal to the ground. 1, 2, 3. Now you're done. Okay? Will you be doing false lashes? I will not be doing any false lash application today because it makes me nervous. Like doing it under pressure. But we can do, I mean, if the library will have me back, I'm happy to do whatever kind of classes you want to see. So now, why did I rotate the lash curler? Because again, we're going for a nice subtle curl and not a crimp. If I were to just do it here, the chances of getting a crimp is much more likely. So lifting that lash curler gets the tips of the lashes and pulls them like up and back. So if you have a hooded eye, if you have a deep set eye that sits back and you've got a lot of sort of brow bone showing, you got to get those lashes up and over so that they show, right? Then from here, I'm applying plenty of mascara. If your lashes are hard to curl, this happens a lot with Asian, South Asian, you know, if you just have very, very straight hair, sometimes those lashes can be really temperamental and hard to curl. If that's the case, lash curler is going to be your best friend. I'll talk to you about that in just a moment. A lash curler is going to be your best friend, as is waterproof mascara. Waterproof mascara has a way of just hanging on to those puppies, like unlike some, you know, traditional mascaras, which might not have a strong hold, as strong of a hold. Now, say that you're like me and you make a mess of your mascara every time you put it on your face. Okay? Leave it alone. Don't touch it. Don't swipe it away because it's wet and it's very black usually. I'm a fan of a black mascara. Even if you want to wear a brown eyeliner, I still love a black mascara on everyone just because it defines the eye so beautifully. Now, that being said, if you like wearing brown mascara, go for it. Okay, but either way, this is now a troublesome situation because if it's wet and I wipe it, what's going to happen? It's going to make a streak, right? But if I leave it alone and I let it dry, I can go back to it with a brush or with a little Q-tip and just rub it and it flakes right off once it's dry. Okay? So something to think about. Don't panic if you get your mascara all over your eyeballs. Just let them dry. I didn't curl this lash. Dang it. Okay. Now I'm really going to have to clean that guy. Try not to do curl your lashes with mascara on if you can avoid it. Just makes more of a mess. So what I like to do is holding my mascara wand horizontal, perpendicular to the ground. Really allows you to get the root to the tip. I also am a fan of blinking through your mascara wand because that really pushes your lashes through the brush. Then turn your mascara wand vertical. This will allow you to use the tip of the mascara wand to get these teeny tiny little brush hair, little hairs on the inner corner, the teeny little brush hairs that we tend to miss on the outer corner. And you can also run it through your lashes to separate. It'll grab any extra little clumps. That's my little tip. For lower lashes, again, I use it vertical. I don't like to go like this with my lower lashes. I take it vertical and I just swipe it back and forth. You can go in there if you're really trying to add some drama. This is my smoky eye, so I'll definitely add a bit more mascara underneath here. But vertical is my tendency when I'm doing my lower lashes. This guy would put a little bit right here, just on the outer edge, not all the way across like we did the smoky eye. Okay. So my little splotch should be sufficiently dry at this point. And this is a waterproof, so it's gonna fight with me a little bit more. This will require moisturizer. Moisturizer is a nice way to clean up any boo-boos instead of using a makeup remover. Grab a little bit of moisturizer. And it won't take off all your makeup. Oh, you are so waterproof and you're being a pain. Of course, you're gonna make me look silly. Make a liar out of me. Typically, when you're using a mascara that's not as waterproof as the one that I just used, the Lime Life waterproof mascara is no joke. Waterproof. Then we can go back in and just fill in. Perfect. All right. So, really quickly, our eyes are done. Blush placement. we talked about last week. I like blush placement sort of in the middle of the eye. You don't want to pull it too far forward because it makes you look sick when you have too much redness around your nose, right? It looks like you have a cold or allergies. Blush placement should be just a little bit higher up, especially the more modern trend these days because of mask wearing is to wear the blush in like the 80s style up here because you want it to be above the mask, right? So how do you know what color to get? A little trick is to look at the inside of your lip. Okay? The inside of your lip is naturally going to be a bit more peachy or a bit more pink. If you want the most natural blush color, you're going to find something that matches the inside of your lip. Fun fact. But again, makeup is fun. If you like to wear pink, wear pink. If you like mauve, wear mauve. If you like peach, wear peach. Whatever feels right to you. Okay? So I'm lining up with the outer edge of my eye. I'm tapping that product into place. And then I'm blending up and back because again, everything gets lifted with makeup. Up and back towards the hairline. And again, starting in a smaller space and then allowing that product to move and blend and do what you want it to do. Alrighty. The trend these days as well is to give yourself a little bit of a like sunburned look. Some people will put a little blush on their nose, on the top of their forehead, just to give the face a little bit of color. No rules. Do what works best for you. And then finally, we're talking lips. Okay. Lip liner, if you're wearing lipstick these days in particular, is kind of a must. But it's not the way that we learned to do it, you know, in the 80s or 90s, right? Where it's just on the outer edge of the lip. Lip liner is like double stick tape. You put the lip liner down and then whatever you put on top of it sticks to it. And then as you speak, if you're at a party, at a wedding, you're drinking, you're eating, as the lipstick goes away, the lip liner stays. You know, so it gives you something to wear away to. I'm going to do this sort of gingery red. I love this lip liner because there's a sharpener in the cap.
Melissa.
Yes, ma'am.
For us older women that tend to have lipstick that bleeds up or whatever, is there a particular secret or brand I found one that, but I'm not crazy about it, but it definitely has helped. I do put a lot of vitamin E around my lips and stuff to try to keep them, you know, not from wrinkling and things like that. But any tips you can give on that would be great.
Right. So I need a lip scrub, obviously. So that's important. Keeping a lip balm by your bed, like the vitamin E you were talking about, Debbie, is great because you can put that on overnight and that's going to moisturize your lip. It's going to help to retain the collagen, the plumpness, the firmness of the lip, right? But sometimes when you put that on just before you put your lip product on, it's going to make things bleed more, right? Because it's too emollient. So oftentimes, like when you're doing your skincare, you can put on a lip balm and let that sit. Again, like I said, brush your teeth, do your hair, do your makeup. And then when you're just about ready to put your lips on, take that balm off. Right? It's done its job. So take that excess off. It seems a little counterintuitive, but you can even do a little powder, a little translucent powder on the lip just to get rid of any excess moisture. Then from there, you're going to go in with your lip liner. And all the more reason to have a good lip liner if you have a lot of texture to the lip or you find that your lip product moves around. So lip balm on when you're prepping, wipe it off, and then powder so that it doesn't move around on you. Oop, cotton fuzz on my face. All right. So some people like to start on the top. Some people like to start on the bottom. You do you. You do what works for you. I like to start at these little peaks of the lip are the top of what's called the Cupid's bow. That little point at the top of the lip. Some are more deep than others. Some women have them much more pronounced. Some don't have any at all. But what I like to do is start here and make an X. Can you see that? I've made an X. Then I start at the side with my face as relaxed as I can. You don't want to like spread too far. You just want to leave your lips relaxed and then connect the dots, right? If you make little circles like this, like little U's, like almost like if you were drawing a cloud, that will help to plump the line a little bit versus it being very straight. If you're really trying to sort of cheat a bit. Sometimes when you overline your lips, it can get to a point, again, like eyebrows, where it's really obvious. So just doing this little circle, little half circle motion will do the job of just creating a little bit more width to the lip. Great. Then I'll do the same thing on the bottom lip. It's kind of like creating a U. And then coming to the outside, bringing it in, outside. Again, creating almost that little cloud motion. And then once that's there, fill it in. Fill it all the way in. There have been many a times where I have left the house with just lip liner on. Because it looks, if I fill it all in, it acts like a long wearing lip color. I can throw a little lip balm on top for moisture or a gloss if I'm looking for more of that wet look. Do you see? That's all lip liner and it works perfectly. Otherwise, you can take your favorite lipstick and throw it on top. You can take your, whether it's a traditional, whether it's a liquid lip, you know, this is kind of where you get to have some fun with the focus, with the eyes and the lips. You know, you choose, do you want to focus on the eye? Do you want the lips to stand out? You can do both. I am a fan of a smoky eye and a red lip. You do what feels good for you, right? But yeah, another thing that I like to do is I'll take a lipstick. This is kind of a very complimentary sort of gingery, not quite red. And just tapping it in. You can even use your finger to tap it in, just to give your lips a little bit more moisture without feeling heavy. A lot of women do not like to wear lipstick because it feels very heavy. So these are the little tricks and the little ways in which you can sort of have a little color, because again, you did all this work. To not do the lips is like an unfinished painting, right? And then I showed you guys this trick last time. I take a little bit of whatever's on my lips and I put it on my cheeks and press it in, because the emollients of the lipstick, it presses in, it marries with the foundation really nicely, so it gives it much more of a natural finish, and then it's cohesive, right? You're not having to play a guessing game of colors and what colors work together, I don't know, what have you. So yeah, we have smoky drama on this side. We have more elongated, traditional, contoured eye on that side. What do we think? So play with color, play with texture. If you're a lip balm girl, I encourage you, try a liquid lipstick, something that's matte. If you love wearing mattes, try a gloss, change it up. If you are always wearing a pencil liner, grab a liquid and see how you feel. and just use these little techniques to just switch it up a bit. Amazing, 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 amazing. I am going to allow you a moment to come off of mute if you would like and ask questions while I put my wheel of names together. I am so thankful that you guys are all here. Or actually, Debbie or Kathleen, if one of you can come off mute really quickly and just read off the list of names to me, that would be a lot easier.
Where would I find a list of names? Did I need to go to gallery?
In the gallery, yeah.
Kathleen, you got it?
Yeah, I've got Debbie.
Debbie.
Beverly.
Beverly.
I have E.
E.
And I have Edward.
Uh-huh.
And I have Marilyn. IMILYN. I have iPad. And I have Jen. Kat.
Uh-huh.
Kate.
Uh-huh.
Mary.
Uh-huh.
Rachel.
Uh-huh.
Suzanne. And I have Victoria. If I missed anyone, please speak up.
Yes, speak now or forever hold your peace, because I have got a prize for you. Yay! Oh, I'm so excited. Let me show you guys what I'm going to be presenting to our winner today. I created a brush bundle specifically with you guys in mind, with my students in mind. It is my favorite brushes. I used a majority of them today. And these are kind of like my essentials. So let me show you my desktop. So if you can see, these are a lot of the brushes that I used within the 2 days. You have everything that you need for eyes and face, foundation, contour, blush, brows, everything that you could ever need. So what I am going to do here is pull up, oh, you can see my whole desktop, so hold on one second. There's my list of names, and we're gonna do a random drawing, and whoever gets chosen today, I would like for you guys to send me your mailing address, and I am going to send you your own brush bundle. How's that sound?
Sounds great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. So you guys can see my wheel of names?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes, we can see it.
Spin. Spin. It's Edward.
Yay!
Congratulations!
I can't believe it.
I'm so excited for you.
It is really something.
Oh, I hope you enjoy them. I am going to ask that you get in touch with me, or you can, give my, Deborah can give you my information. Kathleen can give you my information. Please send me your mailing address, and as soon as I get the brushes in, I will mail them out to you as a thank you.
Unbelievable.
I'm so excited. Excellent. And you guys, I have left you my link, so if you have any questions about anything that we went over today, if you need a helping hand when it comes to finding skincare, complexion, eyes, lips, cheeks, whatever it is that you need, please feel free to reach out with any of your questions. I have thoroughly enjoyed our time together. Forgive me for being long-winded and for keeping you past our 90-minute time, but it was important for me to get you all this information so that you feel empowered to create and feel empowered by your own beauty routine, right? Because we are trying to reveal, not conceal. It is my pleasure. I am so thankful to the library and for you ladies for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank
you.
you.
Always happy to be here. So yeah, that's it for today. You all look beautiful. Debbie, you look amazing.
Well, thank you. Or the grocery store.
Yes. Looking good from the mask up.
From here up, yes.
All right, ladies. Well, that's all I have for you. Thank you again. I will get samples out to those who requested them right now. And if you need anything, I am at your service.
I'm going to try to click right now, but if not, I'll email you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank you.
ladies. Have a
Bye.
great one.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Woo.
May I have your email address so I can send you mine?
Absolutely. I'm going to place it right here in the chat. It's hello@melissacolazomakeup.com.
Makeup.
Yep. MELISSACOLLAZO.
Makeup.com.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Wow. Thank you.
You're so very welcome.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.